player that was at the World Cup was Jack Grealish. Just to finish on this segment, Neds, you must have been happy to see him play. I mean, there were 2 assists. There could have been more. He could have maybe scored, maybe should have scored.
Yeah.
But at least there was a lot of positives in his game for someone who's quite heavily criticised, I feel, a bit wrongly at times.
Yeah. Yeah, he was heavily criticised, and that's the type of person, that's the type of player that he's become now.
Yeah.
There was once a point where he was like the nation's darling, but it's because he was playing for Aston Villa, who overall weren't really a threat to anybody. But now that they spent big money to bring him in, everything that he does is being overanalyzed. And there's some people who could talk about his game yesterday, but couldn't tell you how Mahrez played in the game yesterday. But they were both, kind of doing the same thing. So for him to be able to leave the field and to get 2 assists, and 2 good assists as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
For different reasons. One is the run without the ball for the second one. The other is for coming in and pressing the way that he did for the first one, and then the quality of pass to give it to Haaland to make the goal easier. It's good. People have complaints. He doesn't score enough, doesn't get enough assists. We're here with 2 assists. Well, he doesn't score enough.
Yeah.
But the fact is, he's doing a job for the side. I think he understands that. He probably wants to score more goals, probably wants to get more assists. But whilst you're playing and you're having an impact for your team, it's good to see. And some people never like him. But the fact is, as long as Pep Guardiola does, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right. Me, as a non-English guy, I struggle a bit to understand the kind of love-hate relationship with Jack Grealish that people have, whether they're pundits, ex-players, like journalists, even fans to a certain extent. I understand that the perception on him was very different when he was a Villa player.
Yeah.
I get that. I think that it's not an issue, but the idea I have now is he was playing in a certain way at Villa because the ball would come to him all the time. And basically, whether he was making the wrong decision or not, it didn't matter so much because he was the only one capable of making something happening. So whether he would dribble past 3 players and then shoot when he should have crossed, or then pass when he should have shot, didn't make so much difference because he was the main guy.
Yeah.
I can understand why at City now there's a bit more... we kind of look a bit more onto his decision making. It's okay, this should have been different. Maybe his awareness is not good enough because it's different. You're playing the best team in the country.
Yeah.
So you can't. He needs to think a little bit more maybe of what he does compared to before. I'm not sure if you understand the point I want to make.
I think I understand the point you're trying to make, but as you say, it's different at City. It's very, very different. The way that they play is very, very different. Whether it's a case of fullbacks coming into midfield or the fact
it's more complicated. It's more complex, right?
It's just different. In some ways, it's probably more structured. I think for the Villa situation, he's essentially got more of a free role. But then that structure itself, you can still find strength within that. But it's the way, if you were to look at Jack Grealish for the first few games he played for City versus the ones he's playing now, it is different. But the fact is, for some people will never like him, and some of that's come because of that £100 million price tag.
You think?
100%. If he went for 20, 30 million, you're not going to be so hypercritical about everything that he's doing.
Yeah, okay.
Because instead, 100 million means you should get 10 goals, 10 assists, and win 10 trophies. That's the mentality that exists. And, it's fair enough to have that because, why wouldn't you think that? Because if you're spending money on something, it should have value. But then, for me, so he missed some chances in that game against Leeds. But the chances he missed were ones where he put himself in a better position than he would have done if he was at Aston Villa, because he'd be coming from deeper. There was one in particular, I think it was one when he got squared to him by Rico Lewis, where Haaland pulled to the back post and Jack then goes to the near post. That's a combination play between the two of them.
Yeah.
And as was the case for the first goal for Haaland, he's not just standing out wide, he's coming in and trying to affect the game, and he stole the ball there at that point. So he is fundamentally getting better. I think Pep understands that. I think he sees his potential in training, sees his potential in general. That's why he brought him to the club. And some people will not like it because at times it feels like he's always coming back into trouble. But judge him according to when there's space in front of him. If he's as frustrating as you think he is, then he'll find space and then not be aggressive with it. I think every time when he can be aggressive, he chooses to be that. And it doesn't always end up in something, but he can change the pace of the game, as is the case with all City's wingers when they do get the time and space to do it.
Yeah, of course.
But more often than not, for City, they're going to be 2 lines of 4 and 2 forwards that are going to press really well for the opposition pretty much all the time. So you have to break that down, because if you play against City in an open field game, likely it is you'll get destroyed. So I've got no issue with him. you know, would like to. I hope he scores more goals. But if he wins games and he plays every week, and the players trust him, then like, what's the issue?
I just think that positional play, which is what City and Pep do, the best of the best of the best, is, I think, takes time to sort of to understand and to almost digest. You know, we know the training is very complicated. We know that it's all very like precise and everything. I think when you played at Villa for all those years, where basically all the game was about give the ball to Jack, and then Jack is gonna work his magic and do whatever he wants, and then you go into something far more structured. And I think structure, you're even kind to say structure, I think is very complex. It was always going to take time. It's 18 months, and 18 months feels like a long time in football.
Everything serves a purpose. Everything serves a purpose. Like for Grealish and Mahrez, whether it be Foden, whoever, sometimes they'll stay high and wide, and they might not touch the ball for 2 minutes. Yeah. Like there's some players I know who at that point will be like, I need to go and touch the ball. So they'll go and do something else. But that actually affects the general flow of play. Of course. Like the amount of times in that first half where Gundogan wasn't touching the ball and like being a pivotal part in general possession, it's because he's standing on the other side of the Sixers for Leeds, and he's going to be there because he's forcing the centre back and the six to make a decision. Do I go here? Do I go there? And for Jack being out there, like everything serves a purpose. Not everybody understands the purpose itself, but it's guaranteed, and the point it's going to make actually, which is really interesting, I thought. So Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne, both fantastic players over the age of 30 now. They're both doing their coaching badges. Yeah. So as well as having the football intelligence, they're also seeing the game in a different way because they're having to learn about it in a different way because at some point they have to teach people. So would you not want to be in a team where you can look around and know tactically the manager's got you sorted, but you look to your side, you've got players as well who can lead you in sort of like a footballing way and in a coaching way as well. Completely, like, so for what he's doing, if he's doing something that goes against what the team needs, I think you would have seen those players demand change from him, but instead they don't. So I think it's worth reading into what the players do as opposed to how we perceive it. The more your players understand your tactics and the way you want to play, the better it is, especially in those key positions. Granit Xhaka, you know, for all, not that we're talking about Arsenal here, but for all the improvement that he's made this season, part of it for me is exactly what you just said. He's doing his coaching badges. Yeah. And you see a different game once you know how it's played, huh? See a different game. Completely.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.